Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be speaking about the 1946 Booker T. Washington Commemorative Half Dollar, one of the most minted commemoratives out there, also the first African American to appear on a U.S. coin is Booker T. Washington, so we'll go over the history and backstory and context in which it was struck, as well as the values for this specific date and mint mark, and cover some mint errors as well. But we'll first start with the coin itself. So they were made from 1946 to 1951. You can tell that this one is from San Francisco because below the slave cabin on the reverse, you see an S mint mark for San Francisco. They were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. D mint mark for Denver, no mint mark for Philadelphia. But Booker T. Washington, the background on him, he's a very prominent American who lived sort of at the turn, late 19th century to the 20th century. And he was a leader in the African American community. He was born in a slave cabin. He was one of the last sort of members of the elite to have been born into slavery. And on the reverse, we also see the Hall of Fame at New York University. But the slave cabin, the coins were made and sold at premiums to raise funds to purchase and sort of commemorate, but to purchase back his birthplace to be turned into sort of a historical monument and educational tool going forward. A little bit more on him, though. He was a big proponent of African-American entrepreneurship, business, and advancement, though he was less sort of direct in his challenges compared to somebody like W.E.B. Du Bois, who formed the NAACP. He sort of opposed that. It was called the Atlanta Compromise in 1895. He gave in a speech sort of calling for a quieter sort of integration, slower into society, as opposed to something like what Du Bois was talking about. He was very committed to the cause of education, especially of African Americans, and he served as the principal and a founding leader of the Tuskegee University in Alabama, which exists today and is one of the top-ranked HBCUs. He advised a lot of presidents on his way and was just a prominent leader at that time in America. Now, the coins themselves, the strike quality was not great, so it was often tough to get them in the higher mint state ranges, but there were a lot of different coins made. There was sort of a trick that had been used in previous issues on the Boone, Texas, and Arkansas half dollar, where there was no provision that it would be a one-year coin or that it would stick to one mint, so collectors always wanted to be complete, and the coins were struck at all three mints, though the mintages outside of 1946 or 50S and 51P are below 10,000, though they're not super rare. This one was the second most minted at 500,279, about half of the mintage of the Philadelphia ones, and these were sold for $1 each. Something like the Denver in 1946 was sold for $1.50, and I'm not sure on the later ones, but this coin has not been super rare. So for the amount significant of a coin that it is, I think it's actually a pretty reasonable purchase. You can get a really nice looking mint state 65 example for about $40. AU is like $15, and then it really only climbs when you jump from mint state 66 up to 66 plus, especially 67 for $400. Mint state 68 is $10,000. In terms of the mint errors, we have two examples from Booker T. Washington. Classic commemoratives in general have very low rates of being error coins because they were produced, as commemoratives. They were specially struck. There was a little more attention being paid to them in the process. So something like the obverse lamination here was able to sneak by, sold for $160. Often lamination errors don't add too much. That's just when there's sort of a little breakdown or impurity in the planchet. Happens on all sorts of coins. And this one here, we have a clip planchet about 2:30 or 3 o'clock on the coin. For this date, mint state 64 sold for $260. So people are really paying up for what normally, that small of a clip planchet generally is not too expensive, but with the classic commemoratives, it is significant. Third thing to look for might be partial collar strikes. just because there's not that many crazy examples for me to show you of classic commemoratives. Here, you can see it's not going to be off center, but if the coin does not go all the way into the collar, it can be a partial collar strike. You sort of see two rims on the upper half of the coin, but the value add is not huge there. Really just some cool coins here with the clip planchet and obverse lamination. But thank you again for watching. Hope that this was helpful and educational, and I'll see you on some similar videos. There's a lot of classic commems to cover. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like the video, comment, and make sure to subscribe to my channel. And I also have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and some other social media platforms. You can also go to my main channel website, treasuretownYT.com, to learn more about the channel and sort of stay in contact. I also will eventually host all of these videos on coinsmetalscards.com, which will be both news, marketplace, and coin information. I do have the goal of eventually getting pretty much every US coin, date, mint mark, denomination on the channel with a similar video to the one that you just watched, and that will likely all be hosted there. And then I also have treasuretowncoins.com, which is sort of my coin dealing wing, coin dealing only entity that is a little bit less focused on content production. So thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos. I also have videos that are not just the date, mint mark, denomination recap in this format, so you can check some of those out, and I'll have fun seeing you there.